Chris Voss gave me a huge 1 year's worth of subscriptions on Patreon, and I'm grateful to him for bringing you today's video. Kefka Court Mage versus Celise, Asika and Nekusar. Got all of our colours and a bit of ramp in the form of Ancient Tomb. I'm going to keep this even though it's quite slow. Sometimes it pays to go slower because your opponents use all their interaction on each other. And we draw into another land. Doesn't seem as though mana's going to be a concern. So get the Surveil land out on turn 1. That is a Pongify. Yeah, whatever. Don't particularly mind keeping that on top. Will help buy us even more time. Turn 1 Sol Ring for Asika. Turn 1 Ragavan for Celise. And we obviously know what we're drawing into, so go for another Surveil land here, I think. Surveil onto the top, a Scalding Tarn perhaps. Fixes our colours a bit better. We can go for the final Surveil land, and that sets us up for a Painful Quandary on turn 4. Does mean we're not getting down Geth's Grimoire next turn. We can keep that on top and make a decision between now and then. Sky Diamond for Nekusar. Chromatic Lantern, fixing the colours for the 5 colour player. Noteworthy, he just cracked a Scalding Tarn and went for a basic, but he's going to get a non-basic out, we assume, with Farseek, and does go for a Tricycle land. Argument to be made for us blowing up Ragavan, but probably going to hold on to Pongify for something more scary, like a Dragonstorm Magistrate, for instance. So let's just get rid of that thing right now so that we don't have to worry about holding up the mana later. Makes a treasure token to the Ragavan, of course, so do we want that Geth's Grimoire or not? I think I'd rather try and get into a bit more ramp, so let's go for the Surveil land now. And it will be the final one, which is the Undercity Sewers, showing us a Bloodstained Mire. I think we've got plenty of lands now, so Graveyard. It might be that getting down Tergrid is going to be a good idea if Nekusar is going to be wanting to wheel. A Fevered Visions. If you have 4 or more cards in hand, it deals 2 damage to you. First Planeswalker from Asika is the Eternal Wanderer, so we're going to have to be careful with the board wipe attached to that. Exiles, pointed it, it's a flicker, so pointed it at the Ape token so that he doesn't get to keep that, and takes 2 damage to the Visions. Felwar Stone off the back of an Ancient Tomb for the Mardu player, and Ragavan, as you would assume, attacks in at us for getting rid of his Dranith. Makes another treasure to Ragavan, and that is a Necromancy, grabbing back the Dragonstorm Magistrate, so he's clearly, well, he's using a lot of his resources to get rid of stuff like this. He does know that there's a board wiping coming here, so Dragonstorm could be dealt with straight away. That's fine with me that he's been so aggressive to, frankly, not do a whole lot quite yet. Takes 2 damage to the Visions. So I'm probably going to test my opponents on spot removal for Tergrid, because I don't trust that this player won't wheel. A Nightscape Familiar is going to discount our blue and red spells. Let's go Ancient Tomb into the Tergrid. Hopefully that will act as a good blocker for us. Priority is being held up by Celeste. So we'll see if he wants to use Swords to Plowshares or something. He should be waiting on that for as long as he can. Draw into the Arcane Signet off the Fevered Visions in exchange for 2 life as well. Kami of the Crescent Moon, we're going to, if our opponents can't keep up on mana, which luckily they do seem to be able to, they'd be discarding hand size, hopefully into Tergrid, but may not happen. A Rakdos Signet, might be our opponent's emptying his hand before he wheels next turn. A Torpor Orb stops ETBs, which switches off the Kefka, I think. Yes, it does. Can't cast Kefka anyway at the moment. And there we see a Soul Partition. So that just exiled the Eternal Wanderer, which explains the reason he didn't attack in towards there. It's noteworthy that our opponent can recast this, and if he wants to recast it and -4, then it will be Sacrifice into Tergrid. Obviously the board's not that gummed up yet, but something to be wary of later down the line potentially. Decides to shock in a Godless Shrine, and that is an Ikamoon Gauntlet, so definitely going for the Super Friends theme. Just played against Super Friends the other day and the game dragged out for about 15 turns, so I'm hoping it's not another one of those games. A Flux Channeler, non-creature spells have you proliferate, so no spot removal yet. Kami drawing our opponent a card here as well. See a Lotus Petal. Something like Nekusar Draw Pain is really going to help a player like this who's clearly gone quite close to CEDH. Or he's got CEDH level cards in his deck anyway. Can't judge the deck quite yet, because we haven't seen all of it. And that is a Siege Smash, so destroy an artifact. That is the Torpor Orb dealt with, which switches on our commander again. Once we can play it, that is. And then it looks as though he's discarded something. Oh, of course he sacrificed the Lotus Petal, so yeah, we'll take a free Lotus Petal, why not? Haven't seen any fetches yet from our opponents. But there is Celeste, Rune Knight. Discard any number of cards and draw that many +1. So he's going to have to discard into Tergrid here. Discards into that. Only went for Cloud Shift, so drew 2 cards there. Managed to make another land. Maybe he wanted to discard more there, but thought better of it with this in play. Might have been that he made a mistake there, dropped this and discarded most of his hand. But he saw that Tergrid is in play after forgetting, because we got control of the Lotus Petal. Anyway, a Ragavan versus a 2/2 Flux Channeler, and gets through with the treasure token again. And there's a Narset Parter of Veils ended up in exile here for some reason. I'm not sure how that's happened. Some of you can tell me in the comments if you follow the game better than I have. So we'll draw an additional card to Kami. We're not seeing any draw pain yet, apart from that Fevered Visions. So there's a jewel for us. Are we going to see something like a Blood Moon in a bracket 4 game, or get down the basic? And so that at the moment will have us on 4, 5, 6, 7 mana, which means we could do something like Painful Quandary and Arcane Signet, and we could actually keep hold of the Lotus Petal then, so yeah, let's do that. The more mana we get in, the less we have to rely on Ancient Tomb. And it seems as though we're keeping hold of Tergrid for now, so Painful Quandary is going to be good. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, they can lose 5 or discard, and if they discard a permanent, then we're taking it with Tergrid. Problem is, with all the card draw, they're going to have plenty of selection to discard. They can kind of play around that, but we're negating the extra card draw from the other Grixis player at least. So we'll draw to the enchantment again. I don't think we've got any means of life gain in this deck. Get another basic. I don't necessarily mind seeing, as I'm paranoid about Blood Moons. Raider's Wake. I think that's some discard matters stuff. Yeah, that player loses 2 when they discard. At the beginning of your end step, if you attack this turn, target opponent discards. They can't very easily attack him with this, thankfully. But we'll see if they decide to discard a mountain. That will give us a mountain because it's a permanent. This is the most I've ever done with Tergrid. It usually eats removal immediately. Then plays a land, so we could see a wheel here because there's going to be a lot of damage to one of those. Deciding against casting anything else, he does have double blue held up with 3 mana. Swords to Plowshares going on to the Dragonstorm Magistrate. So each of our opponents are drawing quite a bit of hate away from us. Guessing he's eager to get his Seeker down. Or, yeah, it's probably the other side of it, the 5 mana side. He can discard or take 5. He's at 29 already, it's only turn 5. And decides to take the 5 damage. Well, of course, the Narset will have been from Ragavan, because he's been hitting different players, hasn't he? So has he exiled anything here? There's a Vivid Marsh. He obviously stole the Necromancy from us with the Ragavan, which I didn't clock. Yeah, I wasn't keeping track very well of the exile zone. But Dragonstorm Magistrate is down for good with that swords. And I expect to see the enchantment here. And yep, there it is, the Prismatic Bridge. So does he want to take another 5 life? That'll be 10 in total to Painful Quandary. Decides to take 5 again, so we've dealt 10 to him so far. And then of course it's 2 damage with Fevered Visions again at the end of the turn. There we see Orcish Bowmasters. So that is a 1/1 with Flash, and cares about opponents drawing cards, which is the perfect game to play this in. Deals the 1 damage to the Flux Channeler. And I'm not going to make any plans just yet, but now that Dranith has gone down, I'd be very tempted to try out the Kefka next turn. Might be that we can play Nightscape Familiar first to discount both our commander and sink into Stupor. That would actually buy us 2 mana, which pays for this immediately. So I'll have to see what our opponent decides to do here. 6 cards in hand and lots of spiky cards in the deck. We will certainly take the Flooded Strand off our opponent. We're ramping quite nicely with Tergrid here. It was worth getting her in just for that. And we see another Godless Shrine shocked in. I'd like to crack the Flooded Strand as soon as I can, just before this guy scoops. A Grand Abolisher, so we're not going to be able to do it there anyway. I'll just have to hope that he actually plays it out. Although there's not much harm in doing it now because we can't hold up Sink into Stupor anyway, which we can now afford. What did our opponent just do? He had to discard another land, was it? I mean, we'll take both of them. Okay, and I didn't press priority on the Grand Abolisher, so I'm not sure why it didn't let me crack those there, but we'll just have to not get tap lands with them. We can get a basic swamp in at least. And there we see Goblin Bombardment, which he can sacrifice some stuff to get rid of some other bits. He's managed to blow up the Flux Channeler, which I'm assuming was with the Orcish Bowmasters. and then the Ragavan can get through to this player, so only got 3 mana left available. He might have wanted to attack him first to see if he could steal something good, but he'll get the treasure either way. And it is a Bloodstained Mire he exiles, and that allows him to gamble. He's only got 1 card in hand though, so he's going down to 13. This Painful Quandary is giving our opponents a real headache. I think I'm definitely going for the Kefka next turn. He's going to have to discard to that gamble as well. Discarded an Underworld Breach, we'll take that off him. It just keeps it off him for now. I don't imagine we're going to have to sacrifice it anyway, but better that we have it than he does. So he's down to 11. When the discard happens, he obviously loses life to Raider's Wake as well. But this is a player who wants to be really aggressive. He has to take 5 life to the Painful Quandary here. He's not playing very intelligently. Players don't seem to want to ever slow down and just take it easy. They just windmill slam all their cards into play and then complain about why they're losing. So that is Putrid Goblin, that's part of a combo. Maybe he does have some kind of combo that I'm not seeing, because he does have a sack outlet. Sacrifices the Goblin. We will get that back before the Persist trigger resolves, so I'll just take that off him now. And the Bombardment was pointed at us. So he's down to 4 life with no cards in hand, which means he can't cast any spells. And that means he's probably going to scoop here before we've had a chance to crack those, which is really annoying that the Grand Abolisher resolved before we were able to do what we needed to do. The Fevered Visions... Oh, the Fevered Visions, he has fewer than 4 cards in hand, so he doesn't lose the 2 life, but he does draw a card at least. Underworld Breach, I thought it was at the beginning of our end step, but it's at the next end step, so that gets sacrificed anyway. I'm going to crack these immediately before our opponent scoops. Grab that basic, just in case that's of any relevance. And a Volcanic Island here with the Flooded Strand, I think. That would have been a Tri-Skull land, but like I said, we don't want to be playing the tap lands here now. And we haven't made use of Lotus Petal yet. Draw a card to Kami. That is Psychosis Crawler, which I don't think we're going to have a chance to get in here. Orcish Bowmasters will deal damage to something. We've got the Val Duplication, if we can keep our commander in play. 1 damage is dealt to the Goblin. With the Persist, I think it will come back under this player's control. Does Persist care about the owner? Under its owner's control, yes. So let's just dump Underground Sea into play. And I'll crack the Lotus Petal again before our opponent scoops on us. Let's go Nightscape Familiar. That can easily be pinged out by the Orcish Bowmasters, so I think I might bounce that, even though it has flash, but this player is likely to go down soon anyway. But we don't want to really lose this to the Orcish Bowmasters if I can help it. Although saying that, he can sacrifice it to the Goblin Bombardment anyway, so yeah, let's just go for Kefka. If he wants to blow that up, then he can. Tap down the lands that don't belong to us again in case anyone scoops and they take those lands with them. And I think actually we can afford Psychosis Crawler, can't we? So I'm actually going to go for that first. So that is currently a 5-5, but we're about to make our opponents discard. And this does unfortunately mean that we're not holding up that Sink into Stupor to protect our board, but I think we're having quite a fun game here anyway. It might be that we get another land here to the Tergrid. So each player discards and then we draw for each different card type here, so we're going to see lands, I imagine. I'll go for a Fell the Profane, an instant. I don't imagine we're going to see that many instants being discarded. Well, there's the triggers. So Orcish Bowmasters. We see Psychosis Crawler. Tergrid is going to get some things out, so let's put the Crawler on the stack first, which I don't think matters. But with the Tergrid, we've got a Chasm Skulker, a Misty Rainforest, which now allows us to hold up the Sink into Stupor as long as Nightscape Familiar stays in play. Demonic Tutor was discarded there, so good that we got rid of that from our opponent. Raider's Wake is going to deal 2 damage to each opponent, and the Bowmasters, okay, that's just pointed at the 5 colour player, so he's got it in for that guy for some reason. Yeah, we're not seeing the hate that we perhaps should here. Noteworthy there's a Seething Song as well, which we could definitely use to flip Kefka around next turn, potentially. I'm still very wary of this Nekusar player. Say yes to the Chasm Skulker, yes to grabbing that Misty Rainforest as well. And again, do we crack this straight away just in case someone scoops on us? I think we do. Alright, so that player goes down because he got dealt damage by the Psychosis Crawler. So we got to keep our stuff intact, which is good. I think I am going to crack this because we've got that Sink into Stupor available, like I said. Don't think there's any harm putting it in our opponent's bin. And let's... yeah, when life is such an issue, let's just go for the island. Our colours are already fixed. And I think we're fine to swing in to the left here. Although if we swing in this way, then a discard could kill this player off, but I think the Nekusar player might be doing that himself anyway. We are far from winning this one. See how we've drawn a nice chunk of cards though, thanks to the Kefka. I've built this as a kind of discard matters type theme. Some people have put draw pain in here, like with Nekusar, for some reason. I don't really know why you put draw pain in here. I said that during the deck tech, but yeah, discard matters is the way I've done it. It might be that I've seen some people point out that flicker is going to be the way to go with it, which could be good. Not quite as effective in Grixis without the white available, but yeah, that might be the way to go with Kefka. Just focus on the front side and ignore the back. Geth's Grimoire I don't think we need, do we? Because we're drawing plenty of cards this game. So that means we lose 4 life to that. Now we have to be very careful about what our opponent does here, because we might be able to do something about it. This is only a bounce, unfortunately. It's not a hard counter. But a wheel could just take both of us out. We could just bounce this, so that a wheel isn't as upsetting to us. He could always have counter magic of his own though. And there it is, Incendiary Command, so we'll wait for him to do something here with the Painful Quandary. Probably takes the 5 life, I imagine. Unless he can discard a non-permanent, because he's about to wheel anyway, I assume. Each player discards all and draws that many, 2 damage to each creature. Sol Ring, yeah, we might as well just take a Sol Ring. Can't believe that these 2 5-mana black permanents have stayed in play for so long. Yeah, he could counter here, but he can counter no matter what we target with Sink into Stupor. So let's try and get rid of his big Incendiary Command. It's funny there that even if we hadn't had a discount on this, then the Sol Ring would have allowed us to cast it. There we see an Unwind, so this is probably game for our opponent. We got rid of 1 card in hand at least. Can we cycle this? Yes we can, so that might be worth a try. There is a Saison that our opponent's giving us, so we at least get to see how the deck functions. It's just bad luck that we're up against draw pain, really. Might as well go for the cycling on the Archfiend. We're going to keep the same number of cards in hand, but I can't remember if I've got some free counter magic in the deck, so we'll try for it. Just lost 2 life to the Raider's Wake for doing that as well, so hopefully we don't lose by that amount. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 and 12. That might have actually just cost me the game doing that. But we'd only lose to the Fevered Visions anyway. I don't think we can get our opponent next turn when he's at such a high life total. Oh, we got him down to 0 cards in hand. So he's just about managed it here, I think. Alright, so there we go. We've got the Raider's Wake, Tergrid. We'll see what we get. I don't think there's anything. Yeah, we weren't going to draw into anything, so I think we just discarded 6 cards. So we're going down exactly. But like I said, we'd have had to win next turn because of the Fevered Visions, and I'm not sure we would have been able to do that. Tergrid is giving us a Spark Double. There's a Ripples of Potential, Vampiric Tutor, Rings of Bright Hearth, Nicol Bolas. This player had no cards in hand. And with the cards that we drew into, I'm not sure we could have, maybe could have flickered the commander and got into something. The problem is a lot of our big card draw into Psychosis Crawler is based on wheels and things like that as well, so maybe flickering the commander could have dealt a good chunk of damage, but not 29 I don't think. Get plenty of plus counters on the Chasm Skulker, so down goes that player, which means I don't think we're reanimating anything of Tergrid's now, and we just end up going down to that Raider's Wake, which there's nothing we could have done about. So yeah, fun game, a bit of a chaotic game, but that's bracket 4 for you. Bracket 4 with some reckless playing is always going to be fun, but we're going down to this Raider's Wake now, so yeah, down to what I think was 0 exactly. We might have gone down anyway if it wasn't for the cycling. Drawing into more cards there, I just saw I've been kicked out into the lobby, but it was Surly Badgersaw and another means of flicker. But the fewer and fewer opponents you have left, the worse Kefka is going to be, and obviously our opponent didn't have any cards in hand to discard to Kefka anyway, so then it would have been a case of transforming it, flipping it around, and swinging in to draw some more cards. And like I've said multiple times at this point, I'm not sure we could have outraced him there anyway. But that's a little bit of a sneak peek with Kefka. At least we got to cast him and see how many cards that you tend to draw off it. Let me know for next time if you want to see more of this Discard Matters type theme, hopefully up against non-draw pain type effects. Or if you want to see more of a flicker variant, which one do you think's better? Big thank you to the patrons for their continued financial support of the channel, which is the only thing keeping me around at this point, is my loyalty to the patrons. You can join yourself via the link in the description below if you would like to help give me an excuse to stick around doing this. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.